What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Lumsden Motorsports Garage. I'm Wade Lumsden. We're going to continue on with our Bootlegger Bomber build. Couple more things that need to be done here before this project's finished, but we're getting really close, really close. So this video is going to concentrate on most of the cab and interior area. We have a handful of things that need to be done in there, including some more gutting. We're going to have to get some bars added in there, and we'll go over the cage system that's in it and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoy the video. Remember, if you like what we're doing here, you want to see more stuff, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and also comment below if you're building a car or anything like that. You think there's something I could have done better, little suggestions that you might have, things like that. Please comment below, like, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the video, and let's get to work. Okay, so just wanted to do a quick little overview tour of what we're starting with here. Again, you've seen some of this in previous videos. If not, now you're seeing it for the first time. So as you can see, we already got part of a cage in it. The whole dash and everything's still in there. We have a spare tire that was being used as the seat to be able to move it around. We got a bunch of wires and stuff hanging out. Seat belt stuff is still hooked up. I think the seat belt's still on here. The back door is sitting in the back seat, and there's a lot of little fine detail work that needs to be done in here. So first off, I'm going to start by getting this thing cleaned out, and then we'll kind of go over the cage and some of the work that we're going to do today. But I'm going to start off with getting the extra stuff pulled out of here. Just want to go over the roll cage here real quick and kind of what we got. We had a friend do this cage for us real fast. We were afraid that we weren't going to have time to do it, so we asked somebody else to do it, and they did a great job. What's awesome about these Bootlegger Bombers is it doesn't require much cage. So if you're building a hobby stock, street stock, anything else, you're going to want more than what's in here. But quickly, we'll go over just kind of what we got and a couple little adds that we need to do. So of course, this bar here that goes up and over and around and down and around to the other side, that's the main hoop. It sits usually even with the B-pillar, or just behind the B-pillar or in the B-pillar area. As you can see, this one's sitting on a plate. Anytime you're attaching your cage to your frame or to the body or anything like that, really you should put a plate down and weld that plate to whatever you're trying to contact to, and then weld your bar to the plate. You just get a much better connection, and it's safer. So a great little support back here in between the main hoop. That's perfect. You don't need a whole lot. Again, for this class, some people will run a complete X of this center bar. Sometimes they'll go all the way up. Really, that's partially cage builder's preference, or based around what your rules are. These are the door bars. There's always, I believe, rules anywhere you go. There's a minimum of 3 door bars, and so you have 1, 2, and 3, and then of course you have your pieces of pipe that go in between there. Connect up to the kicker, connect back to the main hoop. This is kind of a cool way to do it because this main hoop, this is a 4-door. It's always tough doing a 4-door, I think. But your main hoop, my main hoop, or rather my dad's main hoop, is actually back behind the B-pillar. So as you can see, they gutted it just a little bit and did straight connections. You can do a curved connection like this on both sides if you want to. But you should always have this bar right here that runs from the front to the back to that main hoop for your door bars to tie into. You should always have that. Again, this is to protect your driver, right? You get hit in the door, you want as much protection as possible. In fact, this being a full-framed car, again, if it was a hobby stock, I probably would have put some holes in the floor here throughout and connected to the frame underneath. But again, it's not a super fast, crazy race car. This is super cheap, economical racing, and you're really not going to get into any type of collision that will cause any of that stuff to buckle. So that is definitely safe enough for this class. Something else that needs to be added, we look over at the door bar over there. That is a very good minimum and a very good start. We have the one bar that goes from the front back to the main hoop, right? But in the rules, it says that at a minimum, we have to have a Z. So we're going to make another bar that goes from here to here, and another bar that goes from here to here, and make this into a Z shape. Other options are to make an X. You could take a bar and go this way and X it out. Just a little bit more support in case something gets hit on that side. And then this right here, this bar, it goes up and around the top, all the way back, and it kind of, if you look way over there, it bumps into the top of the main hoop right there. That is the halo. Okay. Very important to make sure that that's solid. I strongly suggest making it out of one piece. I believe it's not actually a halo unless it is one piece. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But halos should be one piece that is bent into shape, that goes around there. The key things to think about when you're doing your halo and when you're doing your main hoop is height. Okay, this right here and this bar right here, okay, if this car rolls over, you are going to want your head to be below these pipes. Okay, so when you're building your cage, make sure it fits in your car, but make sure that your head's not going to pop up over this. Part of that has to do with the seat mount, but really important, make sure you're building your cage. I mean, don't build it super short and think that, shoulder height's good enough. It's not. If this rolls over, this is what's going to protect you from breaking your neck. Okay? And talking about seat mount, the people that made this cage for us, they did an awesome job. They put in this bar, this lower bar, that swoops around here for us to put a seat mount onto, which is fantastic. There's a bazillion ways to do it. None of them are necessarily right or wrong, but this is a really good starting point to mount a seat with. Overall, they did a great job on this cage. We just got a couple things that we got to add to it. I don't think that we were clear 100% with what the rules said. So just those couple things that got missed due to not giving our builder enough information. And this just goes to show you too, guys, like, I did not build this cage, okay? But there was somebody in the racing community that was willing to help me build it. willing to help get this done. We brought them a stripped car, mostly stripped car. Let me rephrase that. Somebody else helped us strip the car as well. We're going to finish doing the stripping. But we brought them a mostly stripped car, one stripped enough to where they can put a cage in it, and they put a cage in it for us, and they did a great job. That just goes to show how tightly knit the racing community is. So if you're not a guy that can weld, if you don't own a welder, if you don't have those skills, reach out to your racing community. Get on Craigslist, get on Facebook. Hey guys, I got a project. Come help me weld it up. You know, I mean, it helps if you own a welder and then all you need is somebody to bring their skills, not necessarily all of their equipment. But, you know, it's not hard to find somebody that would be willing to help you out, because the race car community loves helping people. And they like to see cars out on the track, and most of them are just super proud of their work anyways, and so they like to, I put the cage in that, hell, I helped put the cage in that. So back to the cage, you'll see this bar right here that goes in front of the dash. Kind of cool and funky at the same time. Normally I don't have a bar that's that close to the dash or anything, because the dash is usually out, but they installed it basically perfect. You can still see your gauges, and I'm still going to be able to get those airbags out, which is going to be awesome. And then they put a down bar right there to help support the center of the halo, again, in case you go over. But that also gives you something from there down to there. That gives you something to mount window bars to help protect anything from coming in and hitting the driver. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start stripping some stuff out. That's going to include wires, and I don't think I would have to, but it's kind of habit. Those doors and the one that was in the back seat, they still have all of their guts. I think I'm going to gut them just to get rid of them. Anything that can bounce around or fly off and hit a driver or land on the racetrack or fall down and whip somebody. So we got to finish cutting all these loose wires, get rid of all this seatbelt stuff. I'm going to gut the doors so all the window stuff and door handles and stuff are out. And I think that would be mostly it for the gutting, to finish the gut job, and then we'll probably move on to getting some added bars in here. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, quick breakdown on how you're going to gut a door. This is a million times easier if you have a plasma cutter or a torch. I suggest using one. I do not have one, so I'm going to end up doing mine with a grinder. So you can do it with a grinder and a cutting wheel, but basically you're going to come down inside edge. Okay. Some people like to leave that little bit of the bottom of the door. You can cut it off, you can leave it, whatever you want to do. And then you want to be right up here close to the skin. When we do the back door, because of the way these door bars are, I am gonna have to skin really close to the door there. We'll come back to this door. Because of the way those bars are, I am gonna have to come in here and get pretty close to the skin back there. Cut that out. But then, you know, basically same thing, the front door. I can just trim this here if I wanted to. I can cut it back here all the way around. Really, the important thing is that you're getting the bulk of this out of the way. That's partially for weight and stuff like that for, you know, other race cars and stuff. But here we're just cutting it out mostly for habit, and also to get rid of the window regulator and all the stuff that's mounted on it, just so, again, that stuff doesn't fly loose and hit anybody. So let's have at it. I'm not always the best at it, but always try to remember when you're using power tools and doing stuff, try to protect your hands, protect your eyes, safety glasses, protect your arms, wear long sleeves, that happy stuff. I know most of us get to work in the garage and we forget that kind of stuff, but it's really important to try to remember and make sure you do those things. So we're going to start hacking at this door. Okay, so here's the first gutted door. As you can see, we kind of came around. There was actually a second layer here, the inner door, outer door, so you saw me have to cut that. I decided to just leave the latch. Again, it's just a bootlegger. That'll hold the door closed until it gets smashed to where it won't hold the door closed, so I decided to leave that. As you can see, when the car was stripped, somebody went for the break the windows approach. So we'll definitely have to vacuum out all the glass and get that all picked up. You can see when I started actually cutting out here. And I was going to leave the hinges on this side. I won't be able to do that on the other side, but if you look on the inside, the hinge bracket actually comes around out to here, and so that would have been the second layer that I would have had to gone through, and I was having a hard time cutting through it, so I just went through the thin piece. Of course, disconnected some electrical again, more bracket. But that's the basics on how to gut a door. Again, if this was a hobby stock or something, like race car, most of you guys probably wouldn't be watching this for advice on how to cut a door, but I would, you know, all the way into here, I'd cut it to where it was nothing but this outer skin. I would get as close to the outer skin as possible for weight reduction. Heck, I'd probably even cut that bar out. But it's the basics on gutting a door. As you can see, you can do it with a grinder and a Sawzall, or one or the other, or both. Way easier with a torch or a plasma cutter. But we'll go ahead and gut these other doors. So this one is the driver's side back door, and we got to make room for the door bars. This would be the front of the door, so where the hinges are, that's where all that stuff was torched out and clearanced for the door bars. So what we're going to do is actually unbolt the hinges, make it to where I can get in here up nice and close to the edge, and then come over and cut that out. That way it clears those door bars. Here we go. When you're gutting this and you're cutting out wires and stuff, make sure you don't get too crazy, you know. Depending on your vehicle, you could set off the anti-theft, or you might, you know, if you cut into a big thing of wires like that, not 100% sure what's in them, you could cut your fuel, the power to your fuel pump. You know, some cars, if you take out the stereo, some of these anti-thefts, it'll lock up the whole entire car. So if you're not positive about it, you're better off leaving it in the car, and tucking it away, wrapping it up. You're better off doing that than you are getting crazy and cutting stuff. But something else that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the fuse panel, and we'll take a look here. But there's going to be a bunch of stuff in here that we can remove once we take a look at the lid, like the stuff for lights, heated seats, horns, AC compressor, because we're never going to use the AC compressor, things like that. So any electrical system that you don't actually need, you can pull the fuse and stuff for, and that should help kill any wires that you've cut in the back. Also, make sure after you're, you know, as you go, when you pull fuses, you make sure your car still starts and runs and stuff. Some of these fuses are redundant fuses, and so what's listed in your book or on the internet or whatever isn't 100% everything that runs off that fuse. So sometimes you'll find that there's 3 or 4 things that are affected by pulling that fuse. Good example, I have a truck that when you pull the horn fuse, it disables the cruise control. Now that wouldn't affect something that we're doing here on a race car, but other manufacturers do different things. So make sure you keep that in mind when you go through and you start pulling fuses to kill electrical systems. Okay, just wanted to show you a good example of why it's important to Strip the car really good before you put the cage in it. So this is the front seat belt here. Okay. And I'm trying to get it out, but as you can see, the bolt that's holding it on is down there. I think I'm still going to be able to get it out, but that would be way easier to get to without the bottom roll bar in place. So when you're stripping these cars, make sure you're stripping them to the best of your ability before you start caging. Okay, so in this step, we're going to take out the airbags, driver airbag, the passenger airbag. Make sure your battery is disconnected. And I already pulled the airbag fuse and killing all of those fuses and stuff. But you want to make sure that there's no electrical, no power while you're messing with the airbags. It would be absolutely terrible for even a electrostatic shock to set off these airbags, which are really sensitive. They have to be, because they're there for safety, right? I believe they're one of the few connections that actually use gold connections in your car because they conduct electricity so well. So make sure there's no power, and then we're going to start taking these airbags out. I'm going to start with the steering wheel side. I believe there's a bolt here on both sides of the steering wheel to be able to get that out, and we'll take a look here in a second. All right, got those two bolts out. You can see the covers coming off, and that is the airbag. Huh. All right, well, I guess I was completely wrong. There is no airbag in there. Huh. Weird. Okay, so that was really weird. I went ahead and put the cover back on, but there should have been one on there because, it's SRS, which I believe is a safety restraint system, or supplemental restraint system or something like that, which refers to airbags. So there should have been an airbag in there. I don't know why there wasn't, but I went ahead and put that back on because, well, why not? We're going to leave the horn working. So we'll go over here, take a gander at the passenger side, see if we can do that. We're going to have to access it through the glove box. All right, got the glove box dropped down. This might be a little hard, but you're going to end up having to get this dropped down, which is disconnecting this from here. I believe there's one on both sides. If not, there might just be the one. But then you got to kind of fold this in and get the glove box to drop down and out of your way. Okay, so now we are underneath here. There's your glove box, drop down out of the way. There's a bolt right there, a bolt right there. So you'll need to remove the trim piece. As you can see, it's just clips that hold that on. So you need to remove the trim piece so you can get to that screw and then that screw. All right, so there you have it. Here's the 1, 2 bolts. Those are the 2 you got from the bottom, and then 1, 2 that you got from underneath that trim piece. You'll probably want to disconnect the trim piece next to it because of this little overlap piece. It actually tucked in right here behind this, so you can either tucked in right here behind this, so you can either remove that, or if you're building a bootlegger bomber just like me, you can just kind of pry it out of the way. But now that bad boy is out. All right, and so somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm looking around this thing and I am not seeing the connection, the electrical connection. Down in here there was a 2-wire connector right here that would plug into the airbag, but I'm not actually seeing a 2-wire connection, I can see all the material and stuff in there that's packed in there for this airbag, but I don't I don't see the electrical connection to where it receives the input to go off. So I mean, maybe I'm just crazy, maybe there's something weird about these that I don't know about. Comment below if you have an idea, because I'm a little dumbfounded at this point. Didn't have an airbag in the on the driver's side, and it didn't have a hooked up airbag on the passenger side. I don't know, maybe this car was in a wreck before, and the airbags went out and they just put in dummy stuff instead of actually replacing the airbags. I don't know. The stuff you find when you're working on race cars. Anyways, still treat that thing like it's live, so put it in a safe place. If we do figure out how to set it off, if you guys have any cool, fun ideas what to do with it, maybe we'll try to do that. But that was my first instinct, was, oh, maybe we'll do something fun. I'll set it off and show you guys. But I can't find electrical connections to shut it off, so, or to set it off. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think we should do with it, or what the heck that thing is, or how it goes off, or if it's just a dummy, or what. So yeah. Anyways, so we got that off. We got this trim piece off. I don't know. We might put the trim piece back on. Really, it should come off as a safety deal. If it can pop off that easy, really, it should come off. So we still got some more gutting and stuff to do in here. So one of the downfalls to using the break the glass approach is you get glass everywhere. So I'm going to take some time here. I mean, they're still leaving a bunch inside here. There's a bunch inside, even the doors that I gutted. So I'm going to take some time real quick to clean that out, vacuum it out. It'll probably take a couple shots at it to make sure all the glass is out, but it's really important because, one, you don't want this stuff getting out onto the racetrack. Two, you don't want it flying around in the car. It's not safe to have it flying around in the car. I mean, probably one of the worst case scenarios is, you get into a bump, fender bender, whatever, out on the track, and it manages to make this stuff bounce up, and maybe it bounces up in your helmet and hits you in the eye, or maybe it shoots out at you really fast from being pinched or something weird, and it hits you. So you really, really, really want to make sure you get all the glass and loose screws and all that stuff out of it. I keep sitting on it when I'm inside the cab. So I'm going to do a quick vacuum out right now. I will probably end up having to do another one again, just to make sure any random screws or anything like that that get left on the floorboard gets all picked up and stuff, because you don't want that stuff bouncing around inside your cab. It's just it becomes a safety issue. I know really most people don't think it's much, but it really could cause some problems later on. So just as a safety thing, make sure you're vacuuming it out really, really well. Get yourself a shop vac, or I had to sweep a car out once before, and that, I mean, it takes more time, but you can do it. But yeah, get yourself a shop vac, or just a regular vacuum, whatever, something that can handle glass, and get it all sucked up. So here we go. So we got this kind of cleaned out a little bit. There's probably still a little bit more stripping and tying up stuff that needs to happen. But what I really wanted to do right now is this bar on the cage is good for a standard cage, but the rules state that we have to have at least a Z on this side, and we only have the one angled. So that means we're going to need to at least add 2 bars, one here and one down below, to strengthen up this side, just in case we take a door shot. It makes it nice and safe. Now there's a couple ways you can actually do this. You can actually make them door bars, just like the driver's side. You can just create another basket like set of door bars, and you could run a passenger seat if you wanted to, or you can X this actually, which, you know, you got this bar. Usually this bar would come down lower if you were going to X, but you could just take another bar and make a nice straight line from this point down to this point. That usually works pretty good too. In this case, the rules specifically say a Z, and we're not going to run a passenger seat, so I think we'll just go ahead and stick with that idea and make it a Z. So I'm going to measure from here to here, get a length for a piece of pipe. Same thing from here to here, get another measurement for a piece of pipe. So basically, like this one, I'm gonna come just below this crossbar here that's in our main hoop. So my goal is actually to put it right here. So I'll measure from there right up to where I'd like to weld it, and that comes out to a beautiful 35 inches. Now that is inside to inside, so if you were to cut this 35 inches and then go to notch it, you wouldn't have enough material. So what I usually do is for each side, I usually add about at least a quarter of an inch. If you're kind of squirrely with your cutting and all that happy stuff, it's better to make it too long and trim it down and make it fit than it is to cut it too short and not be able to use it. So for me, the measurement's 35. I'm going to cut the thing at 35 and a half ish, maybe just a little bit on a hair on the long side of 35 and a half, you know. And get this one set in here, and we'll go ahead and take the measurement for the bottom bar. Now your bottom bar, really the lower you can get it, you're better off, because it gives more support for these legs. So I could put it down here, down below this bar, right? That measurement comes out to 37. So, but the other option, again, it's not, the Z is not really strict or anything in the way that you do it. You could put it right here. Really, it's mostly going to be a case of how easy is it going to be to weld, more than anything else. And there's a nice little lip here. I think I might be able to get a stinger into to help weld the back side of this. So we're gonna go with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my pipe, and then I will quickly show you how to notch that, and then we'll go ahead and get these started up in here. All right, so here I have my notcher set up. It's you can get a cheap one of these at Harbor Freight, but basically as long as you can clamp it to a table, it's made to be able to bolt down into like a vise, or not a vise, but like a drill press or whatever. But it is drill operated here. Our pipe is 1.5 inch pipe, so I have a 1.5 inch hole saw for metal attached here. Great thing about this tubing notcher is you can bend it for angles. This one is a slight angle, but not really enough to adjust the saw for, so we're just going to cut it flat. Here you'll see, this is where I was talking about that extra 1/4 of an inch. So like the halfway point is like right here, and so 1/4 of a way into the saw is about how deep you want to set that for your notch. Make sure you use a good amount of lubricant, because when you're cutting things you should lube them up. But we're gonna get this cut here. So with that 1.5-inch hole saw, if you were mating to a different size pipe, you would use a different size hole pipe, different size hole saw. So so this pipe is 1.5 inches, but say I wanted to butt it up against a 1 3/4 piece, I would put a 1 3/4 hole saw here to put a notch in here to mate up with that 1 3/4 piece. So all right, I got both of my bars cut, notched on both ends and installed. For the bottom bar, as you can see, I went for the little bit higher approach so I could get under there and weld it. And then the upper bar we put in there, but that is the A basic Z door bar setup. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. Of course, down below, post any comments, questions, concerns, things I could have done better, any clarification on any of that weird stuff that was going on. Anyways, again, I really appreciate it. Watch out for the next video. We'll probably continue on with some of the stuff in the cab and go from there. This car is getting really close to being race ready, so hang in there, keep watching, and again, like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.